evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. During his visit to the Sultanate, His Excellency, the Director General of the World Health Organization, praises the measures taken by the Sultanate, which contributed to limiting the spread of the pandemic and containing its effects. The Ministry of Education finalizes the recruitment process for 2,954 teachers who have passed the exams and job interviews. And France recalls ambassadors to the United States and Australia over the submarine deal. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq sent a cable of condolences to His Excellency Abdelmajid Tebboune, President of Algeria, on the death of the former Algerian President Abdelaziz Bouteflika. His Excellency Dr. Ahmed bin Mohammed al-Saidi, Minister of Health, reviewed with His Excellency Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, Director General of the World Health Organization, the epidemiological situation in the Sultanate and its efforts to deal with the corona pandemic with the continuous follow-up of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq. More details in the following report by Abdullah bin Ahmed al-Rubai.
His Excellency Dr. Ahmed bin Mohammed al-Saidi, Minister of Health, had a meeting this morning with His Excellency Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, Director General of the World Health Organization, where they have reviewed the Sultanate continuous efforts to deal with coronavirus and discussed in detail the comprehensive COVID-19 control strategy, which integrates efforts of government departments enhanced by the awareness of citizens and residents. And later on the day, they have visited vaccination center at Oman Convention and Exhibition Center, where the guest was briefed with the process of people getting their vaccines comfortably, faster and smoothly. In a special statement to the Sultanate of Oman Television and Oman News Agency, His Excellency, the Director General of the World Health Organization, praised efforts made by the Sultanate, represented by the Supreme Committee charged with examining a mechanism for dealing with the developments resulting from the spread of coronavirus COVID-19 and limiting the spread of this epidemic.
Thank you so much for welcoming me, and I'm really glad to be in Oman, and my greetings to all Omani. I had a very good meeting with His Excellency Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed al-Saidi. We had a very good discussion, and I'm really glad to see that the COVID situation in Oman is declining, has declined significantly actually. Compared to the situation in June 2021 when it had the highest peak. Now it's close, to nothing compared to that. I mean, the situation has improved very, very significantly. The question you asked, as you rightly said, I have been calling for solidarity since the first report, because without solidarity we knew this virus could not be stopped. But not only global solidarity, but national unity also, because the two go hand in hand. Unfortunately, the global solidarity is not as really good as we expected.
Your Excellency, COVID booster vaccines have gained traction in several countries, US, Germany, UK and others, but low and middle income countries lag significantly behind in shots. What would you like to say about this move?
WHO's position is very clear. First of all, the use of boosters, its usefulness is not conclusive, the evidence we have. 3 weeks ago, we had a meeting of experts from all over the world. More than 2,000 experts have deliberated on the same issue. And their conclusion is that, usefulness of boosters is not conclusive. The only area we can use boosters is for immunocompromised. So what we're asking the world is, please stop boosters. And I, launched a moratorium until the end of this year. And we want countries to respect, because, the first and second dose is enough as far as the evidence is concerned.
Your Excellency, some countries are preparing to send their children to schools or have already started. Now, in some countries, initiatives are already underway to vaccinate young children as young as 2 years old. Cuba is one of example. What are your views on this initiative and its significance, if any?
Our position on this has also been very, very clear, to vaccinate those at risk, the most vulnerable. And those, certain age groups with comorbidities, health workers or other professionals, because of their work, are at risk. So we expect countries to follow that. But as you know, that's what we said also, the problem with solidarity. We see some countries doing something different, which is not helping the solidarity.
Finally, how do you see this particular complex here? You've seen the vaccines,
yes.
And other. What would you like to say on that?
This is a very modern exhibition center, and it's converted into vaccination center, and the process is incredible. Someone to have a vaccine here can go through the whole process in 15 minutes. And, they vaccinate in this center alone more than 10,000 to 12,000. The good thing is the identifier number they use here is linked with the national, and that also helps in who is getting it and track who is not. And the whole setup is very attractive.
A productive meeting took place during the visit of the WHO Director General, His Excellency Dr. Ahmed bin Mohammed Al-Saidi, Minister of Health, and His Excellency Dr. Tedros, WHO Director General, discussed topics associated with pandemic response and vaccines. The two parties further stressed on the importance of partnership between health sectors in all governments with the World Health Organization to overcome all challenges and diseases that threatening the security, health and safety of all mankind. Abdullah bin Ahmed Al-Rubi'i, Sultanate of Oman Television, Oman Conventional and Exhibition Center, Madinat Al-Irfan, Muscat.
During the visit to the vaccination center, His Excellency Dr. Ahmed bin Mohammed Al-Saidi, Minister of Health, spoke about the vaccines in the Sultanate. Here are the details.
His Excellency Dr. Ahmed bin Mohammed Al-Saidi, speaking about the vaccination process in the Sultanate, the minister said that 92% of Omanis received the first dose. He added that the combined percentage of vaccinated citizens and residents stood at 74%. The minister hoped that by the end of this month, 100% of Omanis will have received the first dose, and that by the end of next month, 100% of Omanis and residents in the target segments will have been fully vaccinated. The minister hailed the efforts of all health workers and supporting parties. He also thanked citizens and residents for their commitment to COVID-19 precautionary measures. Once again, Dr. Ahmed urged all those who have not received the vaccine to come forward and get vaccinated as soon as possible.
The Ministry of Education finalized the recruitment process for 2,954 teachers who have passed the exams and job interviews for the school year 2021-2022. The newly recruited teachers include 444 male and 2,510 female teachers who meet the actual needs of the ministry for the teaching profession in various fields. In line with His Majesty's directives to expedite the employment process for national job seekers, Ministry of Labour moved to the Governorate of North Al-Batina to hold job exams for 20 public posts. 351 holders of diploma and bachelor degrees took part in the exams, which were held in the University of Technology and Applied Sciences in the Wilaya of Shenas. To ensure transparency and equal treatment, all candidates took a computer test in which results were announced immediately. Still to come on News Bulletin. The Australian cities of Melbourne and Sydney are witnessing a statewide lockdown, and the Omani students in Australia continue their studies adhering to the precautionary measures. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. France has recalled its ambassador to the United States in an unprecedented show of anger that dwarfs decades of previous rifts. The relationship appears at tipping point after the US, Australia, and Britain shunned France in creating a new Indo-Pacific security arrangement. It's the first time ever France has recalled its ambassador to the US. Paris has also recalled its envoy to Australia. Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian said that the French decision on request from President Emmanuel Macron is justified by the exceptional seriousness of the announcements made by Australia and the United States. Former Algerian President Abdelaziz Bouteflika, who fought for independence from France, reconciled his conflict-ravaged nation and was then ousted amid pro-democracy protests in 2019, after 2 decades in power, has died at the age of 84. Bouteflika had suffered a stroke in 2013 that badly weakened him. Concerns about his state of health, kept secret from the Algerian public, helped feed the public frustration with his 20-year corruption-tarnished rule. Mass public protests by the Hirak movement led to his departure. Born March 1937, to Algerian parents in the border town of Oujida, Morocco, Bouteflika was among Algeria's most enduring politicians. In 1956, Bouteflika entered the National Liberation Army, formed to fight Algeria's independence war. After the war's end, Bouteflika became foreign minister at just 25. Bouteflika took office in 1999, Algeria's first civilian leader in more than 3 decades. A new report showed that the world is on a catastrophic pathway toward a hotter future unless governments make more ambitious pledges to cut greenhouse gas emissions. The UN report reviewing all the national commitments submitted by the signatories of the Paris Climate Accord until July 30th found that they would result in emissions rising nearly 16% by 2030 compared to 2010 levels. Scientists say that the world must start to sharply curb the emissions soon and add no more to the atmosphere by 2050 than can be absorbed. If it's to meet the most ambitious goal of the Paris Accord, capping global temperature rise at 1.5 Celsius by the year 2100. Some 113 countries, including the United States and the European Union, submitted updates to their emission targets by the end of July. Dozens of countries, including major emitters such as China and India, the world's #1 and #3 emitters respectively, failed to submit new pledges in time for the report. The Australian cities of Melbourne and Sydney are witnessing a statewide lockdown due to a new outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. In the meantime, Omani students in Australia continue their studies, adhering to the precautionary measures. More details with our reporter in Australia, Musa bin Jafar Al-Lawati.
The Australian states of Victoria and New South Wales are experiencing a new wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, which prompted the local governments of the two states to announce a statewide lockdown, in addition to a curfew in the cities of Sydney and Melbourne during the night hours. In Melbourne, individuals are not allowed to go out except for 5 main reasons: shopping for essentials, exercising for specific hours per day, receiving treatment or providing care, working or studying if it cannot be done from home, and receiving the COVID-19 vaccination.
It's a new experience. Studying online during lockdown is hard indeed. So we're trying our best to maintain good health by staying at home, and we continue to practice social distancing for our safety and to limit the impact of the virus and to slow the spread of the virus as well. So we could go back to face-to-face classes in the near future, inshallah, which is what we want.
Here in Melbourne, people are not allowed to go out for more than 5 kilometers from home, and it has been restricted for critical reasons. Meanwhile, Omani students are undergoing lockdowns, adhering to the precautionary measures and accomplishing their study and work requirements to the fullest.
We're doing absolutely fine. Everything is available here. We cook, we eat healthy. We take mental health into account as well, because we know mental health is very important for us, and we balance our time. We do not study all the time. We have some time for ourselves, like we do exercise very often, I believe.
The lockdown procedures are accompanied by guidelines for individuals to take into account when leaving their homes, such as scanning the QR code when entering shops and public transportations, which facilitates the process of tracking local infections when they occur. For the Sultanate of Oman Television, Musa bin Jafar Al-Lawati from Melbourne, Australia.
The coronavirus has killed more than 4.6 million people since the outbreak emerged in China in December 2019. The United States is the worst affected country with 670,009 deaths, followed by Brazil with 589,240, India 444,248, Mexico 270,348, and Peru 198,891. Based on the latest reports, the countries with the most new deaths were the US with 3,412, followed by Russia with 791 and Brazil with 643. This is the Sultanate of Oman Television. Before we enter tonight's news bulletin, here are the main points once again. During his visit to the Sultanate, His Excellency, the Director General of the World Health Organization, praises the measures taken by the Sultanate, which contributed to limiting the spread of the pandemic and containing its effects. The Ministry of Education finalizes the recruitment process for 2,954 teachers who have passed the exams and job interviews. And France recalls ambassadors to the United States and Australia over the submarine deal. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios is good night and stay safe.